What's happening everybody? My name is Akash Devgan and welcome back to my channel. In this video, we'll be discussing whether you should work for a startup or a big tech company, also sometimes referred to as a FAANG companies, as a software developer. And by end of this video, I will also be giving you my take on whether it's better to work for a startup or a big tech company. So without wasting any more time, let's get into it. So the first thing that we'll be talking about is job security. In startups, as the term implies, these are very small companies that are just starting up. So there are great chances that most of them will fail. And statistically speaking, 90% of the startups do fail. Whereas the big tech companies are already established organizations. So the big tech will give you that sense of stability and security that a startup won't. And if you are purely looking from job security perspective, I think big tech wins over startup. Second, let's talk about salary and benefit. Now, because big tech companies are already established organization, 80% of the time the salary and benefits as a software developer in a big tech company will be better than that of startup. Now, even though the salary at a big tech company is usually higher than that of startup, there is one great benefit that a startup provides. Most of the startups will offer you equity in the initial phases of the startups. And let's say if that startup blows up and it turns into $1 billion company, so all that equity that you got in the initial phase will most likely be equal to a huge sum of money. So to wrap up this one, if you're not a big risk taker, you want that stability and security, you want that stable paycheck every bi-weekly or so, then go for a big tech company. And if you're a risk taker, you don't mind if the company fails or not, you still want to get that initial equity, then you should definitely go work for a startup. The third thing that I wanted to talk about is learning opportunities. So startups, as the term implies, they're just starting up, so most likely they will be using the latest and greatest tools and programming languages and frameworks to build their products. So if you go work for a startup, you will get a chance to work on a project and using those latest and greatest technologies. But whereas big tech companies are already established organizations, their products are already in the market and the code base is already there, so there won't be much opportunities to, let's say, implement new technologies. You cannot just go in and make a huge change to the existing code base. For example, what I have seen is a lot of the startup companies use GraphQL because it's a new method to basically make API calls and stuff. But most of the big tech companies still relies on REST because the code base is already existing and it'll take a lot more effort to switch from REST to GraphQL. So the developers at these big tech companies still use REST API. And nothing wrong with the REST API, is just a way to think about it. Like if you are working for a startup, you will get exposure to GraphQL and maybe REST as well. But if you are working at a big tech company, most of the times you will not get exposed to all those new technologies because of the existing code base. Now, this is one of the benefits of working at a startup. If you are someone who is just starting out in your career and your focus is to gain as much knowledge as possible, then I think it's always better to work for a startup because you will have a lot more learning opportunities. Now let's talk about the last point, which is work-life balance. Now startups are very small companies that are just getting built. So in startups, you'll have to wear a lot of different hats from time to time. For example, I started working for a startup as a front-end developer, but then I found myself doing some PHP backend code as well. And then after some time, I found myself also managing servers on AWS. So I was just learning different skills. And I did not mind that because I was new to the field and I wanted to learn newer things as soon as possible. But if you want to do what I did, you'll have to put in a lot of time as well. So that can disrupt your work-life balance. And because at that time, I was in a phase of my life where I was single, I was just out of college. So I did not mind doing that. But if you are someone who is married and you want to maintain that work-life balance, you should definitely not work for a startup. But if you are someone who is just fresh out of college, you have that willingness to learn new things fast, you should definitely go work for a startup. Now in big tech companies, 90% of the time you will only be doing what you're hired for. So for example, now I'm working for PayPal. I got hired to do most of the front end work, so that's what I'm doing there. I don't even touch the back end stuff. We have a middle server node that I work on that sometimes, but most of the time I only work on the front end stuff. This is one of, I would say, benefit for some, drawbacks for other. Like if you're someone out of the college, I think you should go work for a startup because you'll learn a lot more, a lot faster. But if you are someone who is a bit more experienced and you're in different phase of life where a work-life balance is a lot more important for you, then you should definitely go work for a big tech company. Now, to wrap this video up, here's my personal opinion on whether you should work for a startup or a big tech company. I personally think if you're freshly out of college, you just graduated and you're single, you don't have a lot of other responsibilities to attend to, I think you should definitely go work for a startup because you learn a lot more things a lot faster because of the urgency. And if you're someone who has a lot more other responsibilities than just your job, then you should definitely go work for a big tech company because you will only be doing what you're hired for. So you just finish your job and then you're probably done for the day. And that's pretty much it, what I think. But make sure you do your own research as well on this topic because it's very important and it will have an effect on your career long term. Because today I am where I am at because I worked for a startup in my initial phases and I transitioned from front end. Now I know some of back end and how to manage servers and stuff because I decided to work for a startup. So make sure you do your research and stuff on this topic and then make the decision. That's pretty much it. I hope you found any value in this video. Consider subscribing and liking the video. I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you for watching.